How's it going, everybody? Today we're going to be going over how to build a basic face frame for a bathroom vanity cabinet, and we're just going to run through from beginning to the end and how to apply this to your cabinet carcass. We are going to be using poplar for our face frame, and the reason for using poplar is we know that this is going to be a painted face frame to match the painted cabinet, the same color. Poplar is readily available at any either big box store or wood supplier. It's very easy to work with and it accepts a painted finish very well. The first step would be to cut your rough lengths, then your rough widths. So you'll see as we run everything through the saw here, we're going to have four pieces that are the same width, and then we're going to extend our saw over to make our fifth piece extra wide. The reason being is our right style or the right vertical piece of our face frame is going to be oversized so we can fit that to the wall. Every other piece, the left style, the top, middle, and bottom rails are all going to be 1.5 inches wide. When you're milling your pieces down, make sure to start with an oversized piece. We want to wind up with 1.5 inches. So what we're going to do is cut our pieces about 1.75 inches. Once we rip our pieces down to 1.75 inches, we will then send them over to the joiner to get a nice, clean, square edge, which will take off about a 32nd of an inch. Then we'll take them back to our table saw and we're going to rip it down to 1.5 inches plus a 32nd of an inch. The reason we want to be a 32nd heavy is we're going to send it back through the joiner for a final pass to make sure we clean up and square the edge that just went through the table saw blade. Now we've got our rough pieces, and the next step is to send everything through the joiner. The joiner is going to allow us to have a perfectly square, straight, and clean edge. We're going to take off about a 32nd of an inch. The reason the joiner is so important in this step is when we go to screw our face frame pieces together, if our end grain and our side don't mate up perfectly, we're going to wind up with a gap that we're going to have to use a filler or a wood filler or a body filler. And in order to eliminate that, if you run everything through the joiner and make sure it's perfectly straight and square, once you glue your piece and screw everything together, you're going to have a nice, tight joint with no gaps that are going to need correction. And that's the goal. All right, so our pieces have made their first pass through the joiner, and now we need to go back to the table saw and rip them down to their final width plus a 32nd. Again, you want to add that 32nd of an inch because we're going to send these through for a second and final pass on the joiner. A quick note, whenever you're using a table saw or a joiner or any machine or tool that's cutting wood, is pay attention to the finished face. So we sent everything through the joiner to make sure we have a perfectly square and clean edge. Once we send that through the table saw, take that jointed edge and make a mark on it so that you know that that edge goes up against the fence and we don't send it through the table saw and rip that jointed edge off. If you do that, you're going to wind up with a piece that's too small. So always orient your pieces to make sure that the finished face or finished edge is facing the proper direction. In this case, we want the jointed edge against the fence and we want the finished face up. Now we've got everything down to their final dimension. So we're going to go through and make our pocket holes on our rails and make marks on our stiles to help us position our middle and bottom rail. We're going to flip everything over, glue the end grain of your rails, clamp everything together, and then tighten up your pocket hole screws. Once this is complete, You want to make sure to sand the face of the face frame and ease over all of your edges to receive whatever finish it is that you're using. Once everything's sanded down, we're going to take our cabinet carcass, we're going to lay it on its back, make our pocket holes for the face frame, glue everything, then lay the face frame down and use a gauge block to position and straighten our cabinet carcass while applying our face frame, working in a clockwise pattern or counterclockwise. It really doesn't matter, but just have an order to your process. You have a few minutes to work with the glue, but if you take too long, the glue will start to set up, and then you're going to have to scrape off the glue and reapply it. So just make sure you've got a process in mind that you're going to work with. It's going to make everything easier. Once this step's complete, you're going to have your face frame applied to your cabinet. Go through, just make sure everything's sanded down, and it would be ready to go off to the finisher or the painter or whatever that next step is going to be. So in summary, I hope that helps give an understanding of how a face frame is made for a cabinet. That process is very similar no matter what type of face frame you're doing, although it will vary depending on the size, dimension, and the shape of the face frame. I hope you like my helper there at the end. My kids love to be a part of whatever it is that I'm building, whether it be for our house or for a customer. And finally, thanks for hanging in there with me. It's quite a learning curve to take a very standard production process that I'm used to on a day-to-day basis and put that into a viewable, likable video. So as time goes on, the channel will progress and we'll be able to streamline our content and make sure that it's something people are interested in. But I do want to try to offer things that are actually done day to day versus just comparisons of tools and products and everything else. So we'll tailor that as time goes on. But thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe to our page, and we'll catch you guys on the next video.